Merhaba, it means hello everybody from southeastern Turkey. I've come down here just for a few days because there's a piece of the jigsaw puzzle that kept coming into my mind, and this is the intersection of that Persian Empire, the Roman Empire, all the Zoroastrian empires that were down south that we were seeing in Iraq, and it all came together here in these Taurus mountains and a bit further south, and they have found stuff here that is just mind-blowing, redefining the entire way that we look at evolution of humankind. And it's all recent discoveries, like it's within our lifetime, and I had to come and see it. It kept coming up in conversations with people, so I've jumped down here for a couple of days. Today I'm seeing Nemrut. Now this is a massive mountain of this small little kingdom that was between the Roman Empire and the mighty Persian Empire off to the east. And it sat in this sort of intersection zone. Wasn't very big, but this guy thought that this was the center of the universe, and that this is where the divine gods were. So he created the biggest mountain in this area, which is mostly covered by snow. It's not covered by snow, I don't think, at the moment. I managed to go out there today, so I'm off to now to catch up with a car to drive me out there. And he's carved out these massive heads up on the top of the mountain. I'll tell you more about that when I get up there. And it projects out into this whole area, but it's seen as the alignment of the cosmos, and the center of the universe is meant to be in this area. So, and then tomorrow I'm going to go to Göbekli Tepe and other places which many of you would have heard of, and this is a very special moment to really think of how exploring archaeologists, exploring and keep questioning, have just twisted our thought on human evolution and city evolution and architecture and people. It's amazing, and all the links it has to space. Anyway, this is where it's like. I'm at Urfa, Salur Urfa, and I'm just going to have a quick look around now. You'll see some clips. I've just read that this castle up there, which was built kind of Islam time, 800 AD. I'm not surprised with everybody bashing the crap out of each other around here. But this is a Neolithic mound, which is Erbil, if you remember. That place, which I absolutely loved, was also built on a big Neolithic mound, meaning that it was just lots of soil, basically, and bitumen and reed put together into a massive mound to create a structure. It does look like it's got a lot of limestone rocks, but I heard they fortified it, built a big canal around here. There's lots of history, obviously, in here. You can see, you can feel it. But this goes back down, one sign says 9,000, another says 10,000, whatever, a hell of a long time BC. And that's what I'm here to see, this old, really ancient time. Now, get our head around what that means. You know, when we thought the Romans, and then we thought 2,000, then we thought the Egyptian, that maybe 4,000 to 6,000, then we thought the Persians, maybe another 2,000 before that. This shows evidence, it goes back even further, that we had huge archaeological structures. And that's what I want to understand, because then there's a twist, and the twist will come tomorrow. But it's amazing, like, wow, to be here and to feel that people have lived in this area for 12,000 years. Not just lived, they've lived with, you know, kind of walls and structures and water and irrigation and all those things we kind of take for granted now and think of modern. I mean, how wrong are we? Like, you take out iPhones and a few other things. It's like, what have we done in 12,000 years?
After then,
So these statues here, this is another mound. Where do I start? This is another mound to the emperor, built by slaves. All of that is hand dug, and they've just found an entrance that goes 100 meters into this, with the tomb and the treasury and all that sort of stuff. And I was asking, why don't these fall down? Now, I thought these were weathering holes, but apparently they put the holes in there to stop for the earthquakes, to help the sort of suspension and vibrations, and that's why these things have not fallen down despite massive earthquakes in this area. Walking around this thing, this hill, which is just a normal hill, which he's got his slaves, gotta love being a slave, who's had to carry rocks up. This whole top isn't just like slightly covered in these stones, it's completely covered, like, I don't know what depth, but super deep. And they have come from all the way down the bottom of the valley, that river down there. So they've carried them, presumably they used animals. I can't believe they carried them by hand, but even still, every single one's been carried up, dumped as a capping to cap this or enshrine basically this tomb that's there that they then only recently, just before COVID, had found that goes down 100 meters. Now the locals have been digging around for years looking for the gold that they thought was here, but they didn't realize it was 100 meters under the ground. And then it's surrounded by these incredible figures. One's an eagle to protect from the sky, the other's a lion apparently to protect from the land, and I don't know what protects it from underneath, but that's what I'm learning now. That's the lion, apparently. And that's the father and mother. Well, that behind me is meant to be the world's oldest bridge, built by the Romans probably 2,000 years ago, considering that emperor that's here that we're going to see, the Nemrut's mound, his tomb, it's 60 AD, that sort of time. So, 60 BC, so the Romans would have come through here. It's kind of like, well, this is the thing that, I mean, world's oldest bridge, I don't know, 2,000 years now doesn't seem that old, but the thing that's impressive for me is that it's such a huge bridge. Look at the size. There must have been a massive flow of water. You can see the size of the canyon there, that beautiful limestone. Oh, I'd love to climb that. And coming down here, I'd also wish I had my fly fishing rod, because look how beautiful that looks like as a fishing river. Anyway, I bet there's some good fish just lying down there. That aside, it shows the significance of this edge of empire. We're right on the edge of the Roman Empire, coming into the Persian Empire. Jesus Christ, JC, has been around for like 60 years, 30 years, 40 years. And so there's a lot of change going in the Roman Empire that's happening. It's about to fall, but they still build this huge bridge kind of in the middle of nowhere. And you think, why would you need to build a bridge rather than just ford it or wait until the flood finishes? So it must have been massively significant, this, for trade on the east-west. Rather than head down those rivers, go into the Middle East and across the Silk Road, there must have been a safer alternative being set up in the north up here, which is probably also why the kingdom made so much money, because he negotiated, just in one generation he built all that stuff. He negotiated a lot of peace between people so they could trade, and probably a lot better than the warring factions that we saw further south. Anyway, let's go on top of the world's oldest bridge. All right, that makes sense why it's such a big bridge. Look at this. It's only 10 years ago. Can you imagine? Big trucks came over here like 2010, and 10 years ago they built that other bridge there. But this was the main thoroughfare that people went across. It's incredible, for 2,000 years, which is probably why it's maybe not the world's oldest bridge, but it'll certainly be the world's oldest continuously used bridge. That would make sense. Nothing else would have been for 2,000 years. And although obviously the top's new, but the other thing that I just found out, which is great, is that this has been dammed. So my thought of why wouldn't they just ford this river? It doesn't seem like you need to build such an expensive bridge, because look how high that is. That is a big, big bridge. And the cost of building this in the Roman Empire must have been huge, but there was a big dam up there now that they've built. So this river is a lot lower than it used to be. And these quarries around here is the quarries where the stone was used in the temples that we've seen before, and we're going to keep seeing. This way goes to, obviously, Roman empires that way, south or east, west, sorry. That way goes to another kingdom, and of course we're heading out. If you go further, you're going to hit Iran and the whole Silk Road. That's the castle that defended or was the tax officer of this valley of all of that trade that came over that bridge that we saw before, which is down the other side of that mountain. But you can't go into it anymore because of the earthquake which happened, which killed 60,000 people. I don't know if I've got that right, but it killed a lot of people, and part of the castle fell down, and now it's very dangerous. What a luxury today. I've actually booked a tour to come and take me all the way here. I couldn't work it out last night when I was at the airport. I thought there's no way I can travel 400-ish kilometers there and back. I could have rented a car, I guess, but I couldn't know. I just didn't know the routes and all that sort of stuff and where to stop. And so I was like, right, let's just surrender to it. And it's been great just sitting there listening to the history And yeah, it's really given me some ideas about maybe doing some audio for people who are doing car tours around the place, and I could add in a whole lot of audio as they went to places. They could just press it, so I might do that too. So it's been a really great day, and I asked to come up. They took me to like a tourist restaurant. I said I don't want that, I want a local village. So we've driven up the hill to this local village here and then stopped at a tourist restaurant. But it's not really that touristy. However, it's hold on, Guzel. I think I just learned that word. Guzel, I think, means beautiful. But it's the smell of cow poo, birds in the background, silence, chickens or cockerels cockcroaking. I can't even think. Why am I so tired? It's lovely, and there's a whole lot of honey, beehives and fresh honey inside and things. Anyway, I'll show you. So we're going. Take you in. This will be a little bit embarrassing. And this is what they're eating. This is the. Hi. And look, an added bonus, there are wildflowers out still here. Being further north, isn't that beautiful? Same wildflowers, just a little bit bigger by the looks of it.
Abi girelim bir 5 dakika bir çay molası. Bir ayran.
This is great. So this guy, Antiochus, around 2,000 years ago, but a bit after 2,000 years ago, he was split between the Romans on one side to the west and the Parthians, the end of the kings of the Persian empires, to the east. And he ended up playing both sides, which made him extremely rich. So he worshipped both gods. He was very neutral. He dressed like a Parthian king, Persian dress, yet he spoke Greek. He had this huge mound built. He believed he was this is his tomb as well, but he believed that this was the center of the world where he was. So he was quite, for this guy that had a small kingdom in between two huge kingdoms, he had a lot of guts, I'd say. And he built these protectors you can see here with their heads that have fallen off and been stood up, I think, here down the bottom. Really impressive. He put these around on the north, south, east and west points, looking out over the various kingdoms. And he also there's a lot of cosmology that comes in here. He takes a lot of the lessons he's learned from north, south, east and west, all the stuff we've been talking about, and he brings it here. And there's a real alignment between the highest mountain, Mount Nimrod, and his entire kingdom. It's about a bit over 2,500 meters high, so it's pretty high. His slaves covered it in this dome of hard rock, of little chips, so that it could be preserved forever. And and it's used as a cosmological direction. Now, it's only now as they're getting drones and matching these things around the world and being able to do under the LiDAR, the under Earth radar, that they're finding underground tombs. They're finding hidden chambers that have the same direction as other hidden chambers on other mountains a long way away. There's a lot of connection between all of these that we have lost and we don't understand over the wars and everything else for the last 2,000 years. So although this is a pile of ruins with an amazing heads, only rediscovered by someone in 1881. He was told as he was surveying here for the Ottoman Empire that, hey guys, I think there's some heads up the top of that hill you might want to go have a look at. He saw it. Somebody came, I think in the 50s, Teresa, I think her name was, I've forgotten her surname, and she devoted her life to actually restoring this, digging them out and preserving it. It's just been made, or not just, 87, it was made a UNESCO World Heritage Site, quite rightly. And look at this view that it looks out on. This is the end, marks the end of the Taurus Mountains. And look at that. I mean, how spectacular is that? And while I've done a 2-minute post, I may as well talk about the dam. This dam is strategically important, the one we saw before. You can see water down there, coming all the way to the water down there, which was where we first started, and the bridge in between. Now, what I just worked out and just was told that, and I couldn't believe this until I looked at it, that actually that side of the dam goes into the Tigris River now. That side ends up going to the Euphrates River into Syria. So strategically, Turkey owns the 5th largest dam in the world, and strategically it could block off all the major water, the Euphrates, into Syria, holding it to ransom. He could also block off all the major water, the Tigris, that huge river here, going into Iraq, and it would just flood this area. But they could starve Iraq, so they've got this strategic position as well, which is really interesting to see here from this vantage point. Beautiful limestone. We've just stopped by the side of the road at that place and got these things, which are just dripping in sugar. I mean, when you bite in, you can taste the liquid sugar pouring into your mouth, the honey. Man, they're good. I'd be so fat if I lived here.